welcome. I'm Trip.
I'm Ash.
We haven't done a van video in a long time because we've been busy with all other projects, calls, going to events, traveling, and all that fun stuff. So I figured I'd give you guys an update. So for the past few months we haven't done anything major to the van, just little details here and there to help improve it and things we felt like needed to change. Like, we have a backsplash now. Looks like home. Also added a few baskets, lighting. What else is new? The net's new. Don't remember if we had the bug nets at all in our build video. Probably didn't. But other than that, I think everything's for the most part the same as our original build videos. It's just kind of nasty and rainy outside, so we're hiding in the van. But what this video is about, so we're trying to make a shelf over the overhead storage area so we can have more room, have places to put things, stuff things, because right now it's pretty limited up here and there's a lot of usable space that can be utilized. Where you going? Which I've already started this project. I'm kind of halfway through it and I was like, hey, I should probably record this. But if you want to do it as well, I'll show you what I did. First thing you want to do is drop this thing down, which are 2 bolts on each side and those mounts. And there's 4 more behind these plugs. So take those out, unscrew them, and it should drop down. The next thing I did is I wanted to get rid of this because it's kind of in the way and it's not really that useful. I never use these little sunglass holder thingies. So what I did is it's held in by rivets, little plastic rivets. So I took a drill bit, drilled them all out. Now after you drill the rivets out, there's also a hidden bolt here in the back that screws into the frame of the van. But to get to this bolt, you gotta take this thing off. Right, to get this thing off, take a long screwdriver, stick it in here. There's a tab in there to press down on both sides. If you can find it. And that just pops down, then you're able to get to your bolt. Also underneath that little cowling is this bracket, and there's just a few more rivets to drill out, and you can toss that as well. Now you have a somewhat flat place for a shelf. And I don't know what the center is. It was hiding up there, so I just taped it back down. Hope it's nothing important. Also, when you're drilling the rivets out, be kind of careful. Don't be like me and drill through it. I might have 2 holes. Oops. Very easy to do. Now you can buy a kit, like a little shelf bracket kit, that does something similar to what I'm doing, but it's kind of expensive. And if you're kind of a DIY type person, I mean, if you're building a van, I mean, I'd imagine you are. You probably do the same way I did, is just I made steel brackets on each side. The way I did that is I made a cardboard template that fits in that groove, and I drill the holes through this little plate. That way I can sandwich it between this bracket and the ceiling and use the bolts that came with, screwed it back in. So now I have a pretty sturdy bracket on each side. Okay, to make my brackets, I used an old street sign I found. You know, traced my template on it and used a jigsaw to cut it up. So for the most part, as long as you have a jigsaw and drill bits and find a scrap piece of metal, you can make you an easy bracket. Okay, now that I have my awesome brackets made, now I had to make a template for the shelf itself. Just use a piece of cardboard and just to hold a bit, is trying to find that curve of this upper cabinet area. Cut that curve out and trace it onto this piece of cardboard. Then I can transfer this to a piece of wood. Okay, I got my cardboard template and I traced it onto my wood. Be gone. Now I'm using, what is it? 3/4 inch planks that are 9x6. But you can use what you want. I mean, you can use skinnier wood, you can use plywood. You know, just use what you have or what you feel like buying. Plywood's very, very expensive right now. One of the reasons I went with these planks. And I, cut it out. I wood glued them together. And then I screwed them together. So they're extra strong. I used my little handy dandy Craig kit to mount them together. That thing's very useful. Comes in handy a lot. And I also drilled my holes to where they're gonna mount to the bracket above it. I'm planning on having this hanging under the bracket. So there's gonna be a bolt, some spacers. So this sits on top of the shelf that's in there. But now we're all caught up to what I've already done. So now we're in real time. So I think the next thing to do is to sand it down, get it nice and smooth, and paint it. Okay, the shelf is all sanded out, and went ahead and put this black trimming on the back of it where it meets up to the, the wall, because I want to have a way to keep things from falling into the hole behind it and getting lost forever. For example, something that small will fall in between the wood and the panel, so there is a slight gap there. And how I made that is with this stuff. Yeah, it's just garden trimming that I screwed to the bottom of the shelf to give me that little lip. And you know where I got this idea? From the race car. From when I made a front splitter. Oddly enough, a lot of similarities went to this that go into that. So since I'm putting race car technology into the van, does that make the van a race van? Okay, this is my final test fit before we send it off to paint. See, now you can get a better idea how big the shelf is going to be and how it's getting mounted. And you see how my lip there is kind of like a blocker, so things don't roll away into the abyss. So it does need some adjustments. I do plan on putting some spacers between now. And put a piece of foam in this big hole so nothing can fall back through. So yeah, all that's left is paint. There we go. Screwing things down and securing everything.
To paint.
You did a good job. Okay, before we paint, we wanted to put this little edging on, little piece of trim. That way things don't fly off the back or front. Whichever's, technically that's front, Everything that's back. So yeah, slide off the back. Okay, the shelf is painted. Got my little trim piece on. Now we get to put it in the van. See how she looks, see how she fits. Got a lot of rain last night, got a rivel. Off to the van. Okay, I got the shelf fitted. Fits nice and snug. I got my hardware started. Now I gotta make spacers for it and secure it. So I bought this steel rod to make spacers out of, so I gotta measure the shank of my bolt and cut this down to size, and also use some washers to help get my fitment right. So let's go do that. And the shelf is done. Came out pretty good. I just kind of darkened this corner so can't see it too well. That's why I added these lights. But it is pretty sturdy, and I would trust that to put an okay amount of weight in there. I don't want to step on it or anything. Not that you could. And it's high enough still where I can get in and out of the driver's seat to come into the back. And one thing you can't see is I did have to take this panel back down and screw this into the wood because it was kind of drooping a little bit. Hey, and the shelf is done. What do you think about it?
Really like it. It definitely maximized our space potential up here. Because we just only have this up. Now we have all of this glorious space.
Too much room.
That just means we gotta get more stuff.
Might not look like much, but every inch counts when you're making a van or bus, camping, or whatever you're doing. Because that's significantly more stuff than what we had up there before.
It's a lot deeper than you think.
It was a joke.
Of course, I just threw a bunch of random stuff in there for scale. And if you want, we're not sure yet. We'll probably test it out, see how everything rides. Just determine if we need like a net or bungee or anything like that. So we just have to test it out, see if everything comes flying out. But I wanted to make this quick video in case somebody else wanted to do something similar, and if you didn't want to buy the kit for it, this is a other option.
How much do you think we spent?
I kind of have to give a rough estimate on how much it cost. Some of the stuff we already had, except for like the wood. I think the wood and some of the hardware, like nuts and bolts, is the only thing we didn't have already. But we might have, what, 20 bucks worth of wood up there. And the metal we already had, which was just an old street sign. Hardware I got at Tractor Supply, which is probably the cheapest place you can get it. And but all in all, you can probably build that 40-50 bucks. So not too bad. But we have some other plans for the van. Right now we're kind of back in build mode. Here soon I plan on building a roof rack. So come back for that. So a lot of the little things we're doing to prepare for a big trip. Next month? Is it next month?
Oh,
No, 2
no,
months.
May.
In May we plan on going to doing the longest trip we ever done in the van. So it'd be a big test for it. Like a 2-week long trip. So come back for that eventually. But until then, take it easy. Peace out.